Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers, sisters, mothers, misters, and to all my cousins out there around the world, it's time to plug in, get the news, train, check. Yes, dire, meaning very, very serious, often, and it's involved in some sort of life or death situation. We have your actions and your conduct over the weekend will have dire consequences, young man. Yes, some people who live in extreme poverty and they are in dire need of food and water and security, and so yeah, dire consequences, dire warnings, dire need, just some common collocations with dire, meaning very, very serious. And we've had an old friend here, the death toll. Now, to take a toll on someone or something means to do damage. But in this case, when we're talking about the death toll, the toll is the sound that a bell makes. Now, you might say, but Mr. James, the bell rings. Yes, it does ring, but it also tolls. You might know the song, For Whom the Bell Tolls. Yeah, and that's because the church bell will ring or toll when somebody passes away before the funeral. And so the death toll is the ringing of the bell, letting people know that the funeral is on, and, well, let's move on. Decisive is a very good adjective, and in this case it means that you're able to make decisions, and good decisions, promptly, quickly, and with confidence in order to then try and fix a situation. However, with the opposite being indecisive, like if you're in a restaurant and they're like, so what would you like? And you're like, oh, I don't know, do I want the chicken or do I want the pasta? And the waitress is sitting there tapping her tablet. Come on, now I've got 20 more tables to wait on. Yeah, people don't like indecision. Leaders need to be decisive and take decisive action. Making those quick decisions with the evidence and the information that they have, and doing so with confidence so as to inspire the people who are then following them or following their order. However, decisive can also be used meaning that it led to the deciding quality of something. We have like decisive battles in World War II, which then led to a change in course of the war. And let's move on. We've got a great prefix here, pseudo, meaning fake or not really, false. Pseudoscience, much like astrology. Sorry for anybody out there, but it's not a real science. Astronomy, on the other hand, is a science, but astrology is not. If you saw the news, Trump retweeted tweets from some lady that says that they have vaccines based on alien DNA and that people are impregnated by demons and stuff like that. That is a quack. That is a pseudo-scientist or a pseudo-doctor making false claims. Pseudo, just like we also see with people when they're using, well, online, any of our names online, typically our Twitter handles, etc., those are pseudonyms or fake names. Pseudonym, yeah? Great. To stoke racial division. Stoke we've had several times on the show, and it means to add fuel to a fire so that the fire then rages and burns much more fiercely and brightly. And so if we're going to be stoking divisions or stoking problems, stoking the conflict, it's causing an increase of that. You're adding fuel to that figurative fire, causing these divisions and these tensions to flare up, yeah, and to increase in intensity. All right, a little caffeine to keep us rolling here. In Japan, all right, blah, blah, blah. All these things have one surprising thing in common. To have something in common, it means that two different entities share some quality, much like a surprising number of my friends are also left-handed, and so yes, we all have that in common. That's it, just a simple phrase meaning that you have or share some of the same qualities, preferences, etc. Yeah? Super. Continuing with the China, it's accused of hacking the Vatican. Oh boy. And here's why they would be, now we don't know, they're accused of it, but apparently the authors here think they are the prime suspects. Prime in this case, and in most cases meaning the best or number one. Just like in most murders, the prime suspect is usually the boyfriend or girlfriend, somebody that is in close proximity, because often emotions are involved. And when you buy a high quality steak, USDA prime beef, or Amazon Prime because you're number one and you get the preferred treatment. Yeah, cool. Moving on. Here we go. We got this, it's a Netflix special, Indian matchmaking, and the creator of the show says that he or she welcomes the backlash. Backlash is a strong negative opinion by a large group of people, often just the general public, which are opposed to some decisions that have been made or changes that have been made. people are upset about this. Why? I'm not 100% sure, but the creator welcomes the backlash. Now, we should all welcome constructive criticism, but I don't know if that's it per se what this is. However, it also follows the proverb or the old adage that all publicity is good publicity. And so this person probably has gone from being some obscure producer that nobody had ever heard of before, but now they have made a name for themselves and they are in the spotlight. And even if it is negative publicity, now people know who they are, and it will probably make it easier for them to get other jobs in the future. Unless they're doing something horrible here, but I wouldn't really know. Let's go. They are going to withdraw nearly 12,000 troops from Germany. To withdraw, we've had it countless times on the show, and it's often used with troops, but also with money from an ATM, and it's to pull out. Yeah, and we withdraw money from the ATM. We're pulling it out of our account. Not quite literally, but in a figurative sense. But here, we're going to be pulling out the troops from Germany. We often hear about other armies pulling out of other countries. I mean, I keep saying it on the show here, but it's not always just about pictures. It often has some sort of idea of pull, to draw people's attention, yeah, to draw criticism, to draw questions, to draw doubt. Ex-GOP lawmaker has become angry. Remember, angry is an adjective, but to anger can also be a verb. To anger something, it angers me. That angered him. Yes, his blood is boiling like water that's been heated to 100 degrees Celsius because Trump admitted something. And so to admit to doing something or to admit to having done something is an admission, to use it as a noun. Yes, there are other meanings for the word, such as being accepted to universities or other things, but we're sticking with here is confirming that you did do something and saying, okay, you're right, I did it. The opposite would be to deny, but yeah, to admit, to confess to something. To overtake. Two cars are driving down the road, one of them wants to get ahead of the other and passes or overtakes. In the US we say passes, in the UK they say overtake. And so Huawei has passed Samsung in smartphone sales, but it might not last for long. I don't know, there's some intrigue. You better click the link and find out why. Okay. After videos show a woman being pulled into an unmarked van during her arrest. And an unmarked van or an unmarked car means that it does not have any words or symbols on it. So therefore you are unable to determine what agency might be the agency doing the arrest. And so therefore where she would be being taken. Ooh, that's a weird construction. Wow. Black soccer star is bewildered after a boy sends a KK image to him on Instagram. Now see, this is just some kid. There's like a 12-year-old or something. It's just really a great word for being confused. Bewildered, dumbfounded, flabbergasted. Geez, we had another good one on the show the other day, and I don't recall what it is at the moment. But it'll probably come to me as soon as I end the broadcast. Moving on. Obama is going to eulogize John Lewis, and to eulogize or give or provide, perform a eulogy is the speech at somebody's funeral in memorial of their life, to commemorate the achievements that they may have accomplished during their lives. The noun eulogy was made famous by Derek Zoolander in the eponymous film Zoolander, when he called it an eugoogly. But yes, I think that he will be quite eloquent, and Trump has even said that he refuses to attend the funeral and the memorial service because, surprise, Andy Cohen says he has robust, very strong and durable and healthy COVID antibodies in his blood, but he can't donate plasma because he's gay. Yeah, because he's got these robust, very strong, active antibodies, and it could be helping people, but they're afraid they might catch the gay. Oh my God. Moving on to India. Over half of the Mumbai slum residents have had COVID-19. A slum is a very poor area or district of a city. Most people know it now because of the film Slumdog Millionaire, right? Because he lived in a slum. The buildings are often decrepit, dilapidated, or it could be some sort of shanty town where all of the buildings and the dwellings are basically improvised and put together with materials that have been found, and they aren't necessarily intended to be used as homes. But yeah, a very poor, dirty area of town, usually overcrowded, super densely populated, and yes, just a hotbed for disease spread because of the proximity of people, lack of distancing, often lack of sewage, plumbing, and basic other necessities and utilities that would exist in a more wealthy neighborhood. Whatever. People in their ignorance never fail to shock me. Though I should be desensitized. I should, I've developed calluses to the ridiculousness of some of these people's statements. However, I've never failed to be bewildered by what they say. Yeah, right. Europe's banks, they finally, after days and days of tense talks, they have set aside billions more for COVID relief to help with unemployment, economic situations, help people stay in their homes, etc. And so to take something and set it aside means you're going to stop working on it, or you have it specifically allocated. It can't then be used for anything else because it is for this intended purpose. A good synonym would be allocated, so that way then it is ready to be deployed as necessary. It might sound a little bit like I'm trying a bit too hard, but yes, I'm just trying to recycle vocabulary from countless past broadcasts as it arises in my twisted and demented mind, specifically designated for a purpose or activity. Onto the world of Ultimate Fighting Championship. Absolutely not important, but seismic. Ooh, yes, a seismograph is the machine or device which measures earthquakes and seismic activity, the movement of the Earth's crust. So if it's a seismic year, that means that the Earth has been shaken. Yes, and I would say the Earth has been shaken up by this entire pandemic and everything. And as a result, it will go down as the worst year in history ever. I don't know about for UFC. I wouldn't say the worst year ever. There have been countless terrible years in the history of humanity. But to go down as something means it will be remembered. It will be recorded in the history books as whatever. Often correlates with superlatives because, well, that's what we remember and write down, the bests and the worsts, right? This won't go down as my best broadcast ever, but at the same time, Zoom is backing away from China because they're all like, oh, China, you look like a big, wonderful market. And you're like, oh, wait, all sorts of weird hackers and government stuff, and they're just backing away. I don't want to get involved in that. And so it's a nice phrasal verb for retreating from, moving away from, for whatever reason, is very visual because you can see, much like I was just providing a demonstration of, getting smaller and moving away. And so instead, they're doubling down on India. And so they're going to reallocate whatever resources they were applying in China, and they will redeploy it to India and double their investments there because it's a safer market economically or politically or whatever. I'm not sure what's behind their decisions, but I'm sure that they've given it great and deep thought. The boss is coming and I'm not done with the report yet. Go ask him some questions and stall him so I can finish the report before he gets here. Yeah? And so it's to slow something down or to pause something, often so that something else can get done, like solving a global pandemic, I'm assuming. But pretty cool. Salt desert there. Was that Atacama, maybe? All right. To eradicate. Yes. To eliminate from existence. To wipe out. To eliminate. Usually something negative. To eradicate poverty. To eradicate corruption. You could say to eradicate the ant problem in the kitchen. It doesn't, or eradicate the ants doesn't really quite work, I guess, but it's in the same vein, right? It has the same general meaning, to get rid of it completely. And traces, just very small amounts or pieces of evidence of something, just like detectives will find traces of DNA that will help them solve a crime. Because while their direct suppliers might not use forced labor or other sorts of human rights abuses, but maybe their suppliers. And so down through the extended web of suppliers that feed these big brands, they are being urged as a passive by protesters to get rid of any aspect or element of those human rights abuses. And, well, rock on. We don't like these. Those are bad. Oh, Trump turns into a pussycat on all things Putin. Yeah, he tempers his tone, he brings it down a little bit, he defers blame and shields his little buddy Putin here. Love me. Alright. Colossal just means huge. Huge, very, very large, immense, enormous, mammoth. Going back to ancient Greece and the seven wonders of the world, there was the Colossus of Rhodes, the enormous statue, and Herodotus, the famous historian, wrote and used this word to describe many of the statues in the temples of Egypt because, well, yes, they were enormous. Empower their communities, to give power to them, but not really necessarily to give power to them, but to give them more say, more control over their circumstances and the way that their life happens, the things that affect their communities and so on, instead of just having it being dictated to them or imposed upon them from external sources. Moving on, and this is mind-blowing. Face masks are screwing up facial recognition software. Why is that, you ask? Oh, probably because you can't see the faces. Ta-da! Wow. To screw something up means to make a mistake or to cause a problem with it, just like sometimes technological issues will screw up my broadcast. Yeah, in life we all screw things up, and these face masks are screwing up our entire society because they've become a beacon in some ridiculous culture war that should not exist. More technology. As AI technology tracks employees around the office or the warehouse or whatever to enforce social distancing. And so, yeah, if you're walking a little bit too close to one of your colleagues, you'll get an alert on your phone or something saying, yo, you're way too close to John, step back, or something like that. It's kind of creepy knowing that your employer, because yes, there's dealing with the employees, that your employer knows your every movement and your position. So much for those extended bathroom breaks or going out to the parking lot to sneak a smoke. Nope, they're watching you every moment. And who's to say that they're not watching you at home too? Ooh, Big Brother. That was breaking down the news. If you liked what you saw, please do click the like, follow, subscribe. Twitch and YouTube and Facebook and whatever. Other than that, if I don't see you sooner, thanks a lot. Have a beautiful day. Much love. Bye-bye. Stop the stream.